Now, I already told you that when it comes to the Olympics, it's not the actual performance that's interesting, but it's the politics surrounding it. Especially when you wake up to an article such as this that says that Macron is happy. Because usually when Macron is happy, then people are very unhappy. Like, Macron's happiness is inversely proportional with the happiness of his people. So when his people are angry, Macron is happy. And when his people are happy, Macron is sad. It's the way the world works. And apparently he is congratulating the organizers of the ceremony. It's a very similar event to when the Quartering gave a firm handshake for Dr. Disrespect's apology. It's literally the same vibes. So let's see, again, if Macron is happy, well, who is unhappy? So, number one, we got Olympic Games. French bishops deplore scenes of mockery of Christianity. It's like, look. You need to understand it has to be inclusive. And if it needs to be inclusive, 2 billion Christians, they need to move out of the way. Is the way it is. Like, you need to represent France. And in a country where men go around using language like oui and ooh la la, it's not very heteronormative. Like, you cannot be the heteronormative Chad when you go ooh la la, right? So, it had to represent the actual French values, and they had to be front and center. And if you actually look closely, I'm not going to show it on YouTube because the IOC, they copyright strike these types of images. I don't know if they're ashamed of it themselves or whatever, but yeah, you can't actually show footage from the Olympics on YouTube. But if you find them, you know, the one with the Last Supper especially, and the Last Supper is because I assume the plump lady in front, yeah, like, she probably ate everything, so that was the Last Supper. But there is a man who has his testicles hanging out next to a child, right? And again, like Macron, firm handshake. Yeah, like really good organizers. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that China and the Middle East, like, they want to see this stuff. You know, they want this to be the emblem of France. And who am I to disagree? But I would say, however, that articles like this are not a good look. Not a good look. Let me put the no thanks here. Olympics horror. I don't think like you want these two words to be associated in an article ever if you're the organizers. But again, Macron, firm handshake, right? Like, this is great. Thieves raid 2 camps, stealing a van and jewelry worth of 42,000 pounds. I mean, look, everyone has to be represented, right? Even the criminal element. I mean, how can we forget the criminal element? You can't have France without the criminal element. A series of burglaries have marred the opening of the 2024 Olympics after 2 separate camps were raided by thieves. It's been a particularly tough start for the games for the Argentinian football team, who not only lost their opening match to Morocco in controversial fashion, but also suffered a break in their Lyon base. Manager Javier Mascherano, previously of the Barcelona and Liverpool, announced. The day before, they were hauled from the pitch due to the crowd trouble during the group on Wednesday. So they suffered the defeat, and when they got back home, they also suffered heavy losses with their shit getting stolen. But you know, at least this is it, right? It's not going to get any worse. Oh, look at this. French athletes are complaining about starving. Again, this is France, right? Prosperous nation. Oh, the glory of Europe. Oh, the heart of the European Union. Viva la France, right? They can't afford to feed people. They can't afford to feed an army of bureaucrats that perform wealth extraction on their citizens on a daily basis, right? Like, if you're French, the government is going to tax you, is going to take that wealth and spend it properly, but unfortunately, they don't actually spend it on feeding other competitors at the Olympics and managing to make their country into an international mockery. I mean, to be fair, though, I will give them this. China also did it. Like, this is what China was also accused of. But at least China was feeding their own athletes, right? Like, at least that. They were prioritizing and they were saying, yes, the Chinese government is for the Chinese, a concept that is completely bewildering and foreign to the nation of France. But you need to understand, when you compete in the Olympics, you need to be at peak human condition. Like these aren't just average individuals. These are humanity's best and finest. So they need to have a specific diet if they're able to compete at their best, you know, to set world records and shit. So when you organize it as a country and you give the Great Britain team uncooked food. Yeah, that is the problem. I don't know if they can play soccer while shitting themselves. So they had to actually bring their own chef. This is an international humiliation. Like, again, France, the country that is supposed to be an emblem of fine cuisine and fine dining, is unable to find one chef. To find one chef that would be able to feed the GB team. Look at this. Egg shortage. The team was forced to eat packed lunches. Athletes fuming as Paris 2024 Olympics hit with food shortages. We're not talking about like a poor nation from Africa, right? Like, if you knew you weren't capable of actually organizing an Olympic event, why did you offer? Like, this is not thrusted upon France. Like, they're not forced. You know, they didn't lose a war and they were forced to hold the Olympics. I'm willing to bet that Romania would have done a much better job. I'm sorry to say this, but I do think this. I don't know if we would have been able to rise to the standards of Beijing, but I think we could have done it better than France. I mean, look at this, right? Doused by rain. People in Paris are upset. So like, if you want to watch the opening ceremony, they had absolutely nothing to protect people from the rain, even though it's 2024 and we can predict the weather to some degree. Like, the weather isn't as mysterious as it was in 1900, right? Like, you can tell that it's going to be a rainy day, so you can at least provide some coverage for the people that came from miles away in order to see the event, and they're also paying good money for it. But no, apparently not. So look, it doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. We also got this beauty. Olympic and other teams will bring their own air conditioning units to Paris, undercutting the environment plan. Yeah, the environment plan is called Scrooge fucking McDuck. I will not believe that the French give a shit about the environment until I see Macron sweating in his own fucking office. I want to see Macron covered in sweat from the summer heat, and he will have an air conditioning and will say, no, don't open that because you're hurting Mother Gaia. And until I see that happening, I do not believe that the French government actually cares about AC units. Again, you have people that are trying to compete in one of the most difficult events of their lifetime. And you need peak human conditioning. You need to be able to sleep properly. You need to be able to eat properly. And there is absolutely no reason why France shouldn't be able to accommodate that. No reason whatsoever, especially with how greedy their government is. Especially how much money they're taking from the poor French citizens. They're greedy fucks, and they're unable to at least provide an event that wouldn't be an embarrassment on an international scale. Like, I get it, you know, like the LGBT themes, like the wee wee and the ooh la la, they have to be there. Like, they are now part of the France aesthetics. Like, you do not believe that Christianity is sacred, but instead, anyone that complains about the LGBT themes, they're a bigot and a piece of shit. Like, I get it, you know, like the moral values have changed. We live in a new world. I get that. But can you not do anything about the thefts? Can you not do anything about the starving athletes? Like, I get it. You have communists in your government now. But just because you have communists in your government now, can you not feed the people? Please, feed the people. Don't listen to the communists and just feed the fucking people. Don't be like Kim Jong-un, alright? Don't look at the Great Leap Forward. Is this like a sign of things to come? Like, again, if you cannot feed international representatives, are you going to be able to feed your people? Because they're not going to be able to feed themselves. You're already taxing them too much. You're already regulating their agricultural sector, and you're making sure that it's very difficult for them to feed themselves. So, are you going to feed them? Because apparently you can't do that either. Look at this. French lines disrupted by coordinated sabotage. Can you provide security? Is there anything that you can do? Like, again, this is the European Union. We have so much control over social media to the point where there is barely any privacy at all. I do not know the difference between the Soviet Union and the European Union at this point when it comes to privacy, because almost everything you post is public, everything is monitored, and yet, despite all of this shit, you cannot provide security during an event which you know security must be provided. Holy shit, the competency crisis is off the charts, isn't it? Look at this shit. France's rail lines disrupted by coordinated sabotage. How could this have happened? How could this have happened? Huh? Now I can understand one event, right? But like all these failures across the board. Even China got their shit together better than this. I mean, again, China had the problem of not feeding athletes, and it seemed to be like they were complaining that the international athletes aren't getting fed, but the Chinese ones are. So like the argument was that the Chinese government is trying to make their athletes have a leg up, right? Because it's a lot easier to compete if you're maintaining the diet than if you're starving. So like that was the allegations. I don't know how much of them were true, but like that's what the press was saying at the time. But that was it, right? They did provide air conditioning to people. They did provide security to people. They did provide the assurance that their shit isn't going to get stolen. They didn't make a mockery. Like, despite the fact that China is a communist country, they didn't make a mockery of Islam. They didn't make a mockery of Christianity. Right? They keep their shit in check, even when it comes to the Uyghurs. Like, China got 2 Uyghurs to light up the Olympic flame. Meanwhile, France gets a rapper which is struggling with drug addiction and is singing lyrics containing the word motherfucker. And this is general audience, right? Yeah, and they're talking like, oh, we wanted everyone to feel included. Well, probably everyone except, the older generation. Like, there is no fucking way you can get grandma and little Jack to watch all of these vile curse words on stream, to see a man's testicle hanging over what appears to be a representation of the Last Supper next to children. And then you also have like a beheaded lady singing a heavy metal song. Which, by the way, that was actually, and I'm saying this, that was the only thing which was praising French nationalism. I will probably make a live stream explaining why that is. But I'm pretty sure that despite of the performance and despite of the talent of that, it's completely lost given the context of everything else. But yeah, no, if you want to know like what's with the beheaded lady and stuff, long story short, France actually has a very bloody and gory history, and that is their national mythos. Like, if you don't believe me, read the French national anthem. It's pretty fucking badass, right? But it's not for a general audience, number one. Like, you wouldn't want to represent that to the world, because again, little Billy wants to watch the Olympics as well. And number two, given the whole context, given everything else, I don't know if showing a beheaded Marie Antoinette singing death metal is going to fly very well with people. I'll make a live stream right after this, explaining more of it, and hopefully I will see you guys there. Take care. Link is in the comment section. And also the live chat. The live chat is giving you a link. I'm rating myself. Click on it. We'll take it to the live stream.